I turned into my parents' driveway, carrying a fruit basket from the local grocery store. Along the curb, my sister Sabrina stepped out of her newest BMW, its trunk packed with glossy wrapped gifts. Her gaze landed on my basket. "Still keeping things simple, Nora?" I smiled and pressed the doorbell. The moment I stepped inside, the scent of turkey and Morin's sweet potato casserole filled the air. Conversations paused as aunts, uncles, and cousins noticed me. "Nora, you actually made it," my mother said with surprise. "We weren't sure your projects would let you get away." "I wouldn't have missed it," I replied, placing the basket next to Sabrina's towering pile of presents. Uncle Gerald, already several drinks in, raised his glass. "Still doing that online business thing? What's it called again?" "E-commerce y answered." "Right." He nodded. "My neighbor sells crocheted owls online. Makes a few $100 a month. Nice little hobby." I let the remark float away and accepted a glass of wine from my cousin. In the corner, the television quietly played the local news. Before long, attention shifted back to Sabrina, who had recently earned a place on a prestigious 40 under 40 list. She scrolled through photos on her phone while my father watched proudly. Tessa, my brother Adrienne's wife, leaned toward me. "Still living in that downtown studio?" "I like being practical," she added. At 6 o'clock, everyone gathered around the holiday dinner table. I ended up at the far end, seated between a teenager absorbed in his phone and Uncle Gerald's bourbon glass. "Turkey, Nora," my mother called. "Or are you trying one of those fasting diets?" "Turkey sounds perfect." Meanwhile, Sabrina entertained the table with stories about her Maldives resort membership, while relatives exchanged news about promotions, raises, and new purchases. Every so often, someone glanced my way with quiet sympathy. Adrian brought up the time I quit my marketing job. Head shook. People offered advice. A few made disapproving sounds. I continued eating, calm and unbothered, letting their opinions drift over me like passing weather. On the television, a teaser announced a special report scheduled for 9 o'clock. When dinner ended, dessert carried everyone into the living room. The TV continued its soft background chatter while my mother served apple pie, and Sabrina admired her Italian marble countertops as proudly as if she'd personally rescued and trained them. The advice kept coming. Budgeting EPS, certification course, stable careers. Uncle Gerald delivered a speech about dependable paychecks. Adrian jokingly called it an intervention. I sipped my coffee and listened as they confidently tried to reshape my life. "So what is it that you actually sell?" Tessa asked. "I've never even seen your website." "There probably isn't one," Sabrina said. "Or maybe it's a tiny little shop with 3 products listed." The television shifted to the station's opening segment. Tonight, an exclusive look at one of the most remarkable business success stories of the decade. No one paid attention. Dishes clinked. Sabrina continued talking about her performance review. My mother collected forks from the coffee table. Then I heard the name before anyone else truly registered it. "Our special feature tonight focuses on Nora Lynn, founder and CEO of Aurelia Collective, the company whose transformation of sustainable luxury has reshaped the global retail landscape." A plate crashed onto the coffee table. The screen filled with images of a sleek headquarters made of glass and steel. Aurelia Collective, Singapore. Then came a photograph of me wearing a dark suit at an economic summit, shaking hands with a head of state. The captions told the story. 6 years since leaving a marketing position. Proprietary clean material technologies. Supplier partnerships spanning 18 countries. Major contracts secured across Asia within 18 months. Expansion into Europe and North America by the 3rd year. Production facilities operating on 4 continents. More than 40,000 employees. Annual revenue exceeding $7 billion. Uncle Gerald froze, his bourbon glass suspended halfway to his lips. Adrian had already pulled out his phone, the screen glowing with search results. Sabrina became completely motionless. My father's voice cut through the silence. "Nora, is that you?" I placed my coffee cup on the table. "Yes." The room seemed to stop breathing. "It's real," I said. My mother's hand trembled around her plate. You gave an interview to television, she whispered, but never to us. They asked about the business, I replied. You asked why I still hadn't grown up. Phone screens lit the room. Headlines, photos, numbers. Gerald was the first to recover. All this time, he said with a faint smile, and you just let us keep lecturing you. You seemed very committed to the lesson, I answered. The doorbell rang. A television producer holding a camera stood at the entrance, looking apologetic. We just need a quick shot at home to personalize the story. I glanced around at my family, their expressions caught somewhere between pride and alarm, then shook my head. Not tonight. Once the crew departed, the silence only grew heavier. My father attempted a toast. To Nora, we judged you wrong. You thought I was ashamed, I said. That's not the same thing. Sabrina's eyes looked wounded. You deceived us. I simply didn't challenge your assumptions, I replied. Ask me one honest question, and I'll answer it. Adrian lowered his phone. Why keep the studio apartment, the fruit basket, the old sedan? Because I like them, I said. Having money didn't change what suits me. My mother's voice grew quiet. We were cruel. You were certain, I replied. And certainty often creates room for cruelty. On the television, a preview began rolling. Factory floors gleamed under bright lights. I muted the screen. I'm not paying for kitchens or retirements, I said, not as a way to purchase forgiveness. I'll help when help is needed and not treated as a transaction. Tuition for the cousins, if necessary. Emergency medical care, but nothing that turns love into accounting. If you want a relationship with me, begin with respect. No one argued. At last, the storm had passed. I stood up as coats rustled around the room. Merry Christmas, I said, stepping out into the cold night air. Once inside my car, I silenced the incoming calls and sent a message to operations. The segment aired. See you Monday. The clock crept closer to 9. I drove home through the darkness, calm and steady as a single breath, carrying enough certainty for all of us.